All right, we're going to talk about the most commonly used word in cremation recycling that nobody knows what it means. So, welcome to episode, I think this is three of Scrap Talking with Kevin McKay. Kevin, quick introduction to yourself.
Yeah, I think it's episode 4, but who's
Oh,
counting?
okay. Who's
But
counting? We can fix that. That's fine.
yeah, so Kevin McKay, for anybody that doesn't know, I run the division within Mid States Recycling that is named Cremation Recycling. So obviously, our focus entirely in this division is crematories and how recycling, all the factors of recycling from start to finish. So I run that up for cremation recycling.
Love it. Love it. And you were just a part of our funeral unconference, which was
Yeah.
awesome. So thank you for being a part of that. And from that conversation came this topic. And I would say that from talking with you and then what I hear when crematories talk about cremation recycling, the word assay comes up and is used quite a bit, but nobody's really, at least, defined it in a way that makes a lot of sense. So that is my question for you. You've got to bring the goods on this of what is an assay, and then why is it part of the recycling process, and what does it freaking mean?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It is an unusual word to most. Most have not heard it unless you were like a geologist. You wouldn't naturally know what it is, or a chemist, in some sort. So you're right. It is a term that's used a lot. I think maybe second to transparency, which doesn't really mean much if you're not being transparent. You can use the word, but you actually have to be very clear in your practices. So along those lines, here we are very clearly in a portion of our assay lab. What is an assay first? An assay, very simply, is the sort of analysis or the process to analyze the composition of something. So as it relates to us, I actually have a sample here that we would have for every single melt that we do. So this is basically what it looks like. So I know we've talked before
Hmm.
about taking a pin sample. So we pull that pin, this gets flattened out, and this is what goes off to the lab. They don't even need this much. They would take a little bit here, snip it off, and the assay actually analyzes that, which will tell the lab tech exactly what that composition is. I've used an analogy before about going to the doc and getting blood drawn. It's the same idea in that a doc is going to take a sample of blood, and they are going to essentially perform what would be an assay on it to determine what's your cholesterol level at, and so on and so on. It's the same idea. It's the reason why it's so important is because it's the only way to precisely know what is contained in that individual lot. So if you're a crematory owner and you and I are talking, and I do this often, in fact, basically every time, is to set reasonable expectations, is to say, how many cremations do you do? Where are you located in this country? Is this a very lower economic area? Is it very rural, or are you middle and working class and up? The reasons being that we've talked about before is working class and up typically has good dental insurance. That's where they go. They go to actual dentists that put in precious metals. So once we've determined that, I can set a sort of expectation of what they could be getting. But that's all that is. They could do a fantastic job of collecting, whereas somebody right down the road doesn't do a fantastic job of collecting, meaning some of it gets left behind. That's going to impact what they're going to generate. One time to the next, I happen to have 8 gold prosthetics in my mouth. I don't know about you. You may have none. So we're going to be very different, right? And mine happen to be higher gold for no reason other than that's what my dentist used. So each time a crematory sends in, there's going to be a variance. So it really wouldn't be fair to us or the crematory to just say, I'm going to guesstimate what it is. There's just no need to do that. So there's a simple process, which is the assay process, that tells us precisely what it is. So when we're reporting to that crematory owner, we're saying with 100% confidence, here's what it is. To take it a step further is we offer a piece of that sample every time to our clients so that they can then send it off to a third-party assay lab who has no affiliation with either of us and can say, would you mind analyzing this for us, performing an assay, and tell me what it is to corroborate the numbers that we're reporting. So in a nutshell, it is the precise determination of exactly every single element and how much that is contained in the metal that they sent in.
So what I'm hearing is it is extremely important that there's a lot of transparency in the assay, and that you're sending to an assay that's going to give you the right information.
Yeah. So, here's the other part to that. So this assay, 100%, we are going to get the proper numbers. We know, we have all the confidence in the world in our assaying capabilities and our technique. The next step is then that you're actually accurately reporting that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if, for instance, it comes back at 10% gold, frankly, what's to stop me from reporting it at 5% gold? Nothing. Other than putting the onus on us to say, hey, you know what? Don't take my word for it. Here's a sample from the melt that we did for you. This is the sample that we analyzed. Send it off somewhere else and ask them what it is. They have no idea who we are, where you got this from. So that's how we put some recourse and some control in our client's hand to say, hey, listen, at any time, if you essentially want to audit our findings, you can. And you should every now and then.
Yeah, I love it. Excellent. So leave us with this. What should a crematory do if they, how do they vet it? What do they do if they're not using you? Can they send you a sample of their assay and you give them a report back?
So we can. This is where it gets a little interesting, I'll say the least. This is where before somebody starts working with a recycling company, they really should be asking a lot of the questions that I've pointed out in the past, like, give me a sample of what your report looks like at the end. Believe it or not, and you and I have discussed this on one of the past episodes where we highlight, our settlement statement compared to a lot of our competitors. They don't list the actual percentage of the 4 precious metals. They just simply say, here's what you got. Instead of saying, here's what you have, and here's how we got to that. Okay, here's how much your bar weighed after it was melted. Here's what the percentage of each of the 4 precious metals that we are looking for came out to. And if you can just multiply that into the weight of that bar, that's how we got to that number. Okay, so they really should be asking that question first to say, I want to see what your reporting looks like. At the end of the day, crematories are tasking us as recyclers with basically analyzing the metal that they're sending in and then buying it from them. So if you're just buying it from them, you're giving them no data, no comprehensive data to support what you're paying them. That's a serious lack of transparency. Yeah. So to answer your question, they should be asking ahead of time, let me see your reporting, and hey, do you offer a piece of the sample every time so I can fact check you? Things like that.
Love it. I love it. I love your transparency, and I love that you're upfront with this content. And if you're watching one of these episodes for the first time, this is episode 4, and you're watching on Facebook or wherever you're watching, you can go back to connectingdirectors.com, search Scrap Talking. You will find the previous episodes. You can go to YouTube. You'll find the previous episodes. And they're also on Facebook. If you search Scrap Talking with Kevin as well, you will find them. I encourage you to go back because we've covered a lot of really big topics around this. And I mean, I just want to applaud you, Kevin. You are leading the conversation and that transparent conversation around this in death care and on the cremation side. So thank you for that. Thank you for your transparency.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. And obviously, this is a great platform, so you make it possible. But I always feel better when I know what I'm talking about. Liken it to going buying a car. Do some
Yeah.
research before it, right? Know what you're going into. So, like you said, you encourage people to go to see all those past ones. Definitely go to Connecting Directors. But anybody who isn't working with us can reach out to me directly. I will talk with you individually as much as you want.
Best way to
Answer
reach out to you?
Best way to reach out would be just emailing me at McKay at cremationrecycling.com. Go to our website, cremationrecycling.com. You can't miss me. And there's a number of ways to click here, click that, call me any way you want. I'm an open book, and I love to talk about it. So
Love it. Awesome. All right, Kevin. Thank you so much for your time, man.
you got it, bud. Thank you.